Hello, welcome to PodQuest, the gaming show that tells you it's time for you to grab your deck because it's time to duel.
Is that a Yu-Gi-Oh reference?
That's a Yu-Gi-Oh reference. If I put some duels in, then it would definitely have been a little better.
That is a reference I'm surprised I caught because I missed that boat on the show and the game.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. I am your host, Player 1, Dustin Lyon.
Player 2, Kelsy Polnick.
And unfortunately...
Vacant seat for Player 3 today.
Yeah, unfortunately, our good buddy Paul is on the mend right now. He kind of injured himself, so we hope he recovers quickly.
Yeah.
To get back into this, because we miss the big guy.
Yeah.
It's nice having him in here.
Makes the show a little lively.
So it's just the dynamic duo for you today. Today, Kelsey and I were trying to go back and forth, like what we were going to talk about, topics and stuff.
Yeah, what can we talk about without Paul here too? And I think we found a good topic that we both love, and Paul's maybe not as into as we are.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about pretty much the original loot box. Trading cards.
Gambling for kids.
Yeah, gambling for kids. We are talking pretty much today about Pokemon trading card game, Weiss Schwarz, and the original Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering. I'm sure a few others will come up shortly, but those are the big ones for us.
There are other notable ones. Yeah. Like I remember I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day too.
I brought a box of one of my favorites as a kid, Overpower, which I will definitely not spend a lot of time talking about, but I loved that game growing up. It's
a Marvel game?
It is, yeah.
Okay. That sounds really cool.
It's really fun. I've got lots of boxes if you want to play later.
All right. So then why don't we do our usual, what have you been playing this week?
I'm mostly caught up on my Mario footage now, so I play a little more Mario games, some of the early ones. I got a lot more Ni no Kuni time than I did last week, and I'm at this like really sweet spot where I've got a dragon, so I can fly anywhere I want on the map right now.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's 3 stones I'm searching for, so I have 3 points of interest on the map I want to go to, but there's so many cool like side quests opening up that I've been mainly doing those to both do the side quests, get the loot for them, level up a little bit, and just make sure once I go to those targets, I'm pretty beefy and maybe they'll go by a little easier than if I run into them ahead of time. But the side quests in the game are really fun. They're mostly pretty simple. They're not challenging you to figure out what you need to do or where you need to go, but everything about the game is really charming, so I'm having a lot of fun doing these easy little quests. And
it's not like too many fetch quests or anything like that, is it?
There's a few, but like you get to ride a dragon to each area, so it's fun. And the battles are really fun. It's kind of got a little bit of a Pokemon vibe where you're catching new creatures and training them, and you can evolve them, kind of thing. So I'm finding new baddies that I can get to join my team, and there's a guy he's got some side quests where you show him different guys that you've caught and he gives you rewards. So I'm catching different guys to get the rewards from him, and it's just been really fun now. I'm not eager, or I'm not in a rush to get to those points and move the story along at this point. I'm just having fun enjoying the environment and the world.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have anything on the back burner, like maybe once you get Ni no Kuni done that you're gonna go to, or?
Ni no Kuni 2 comes out not too long, so
be a good transition.
I might just jump right into that because I'm still really enjoying this one. So if it doesn't take a nosedive near the end, I might just jump into 2 when that comes out in March.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That's an easy transition, but then you don't want to be like playing too much Ni no Kuni, because I'm
not bored of it yet.
I'm a person who, like, if I play a game for too long for like say a month or something, I have to give myself a break.
Sure, I've done that before. Yeah,
when you come back with a fresh mind, you catch things that you weren't catching before. Yeah. So,
but yeah, like I haven't got bored of this one yet. So if it doesn't take a nosedive in quality or annoy me in some way, I might just jump right into 2. We'll see how it goes.
Cool.
How about you?
More Monster Hunter.
Nice.
Of course.
There was like still like just destroying sales charts.
It is. It's only been like a month since the game's come out, and yeah, it's like we were saying last week or the week before, it's, what was it, the best overall Capcom selling game of all time.
And the fastest, yeah.
And the fastest, so yeah. It's doing really good.
And I hope other companies take note of this. Like, take a franchise that maybe you haven't given proper attention to and give it the love it deserves, and like it might do well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a game where essentially all the DLCs were free. Like all the additional stuff.
And they purposely, like,
there's no loot boxes
don't belong in our game. They've come out and said that. Yeah, like it just doesn't fit the style we want.
No, I'm loving it. Some of the new DLC, they released some new Horizon Zero Dawn events.
Okay, I didn't see that.
So now because previously when the game first came out, you could collect materials to turn your Palico, your pet cat that travels with you, into a a Watcher. I guess it's an enemy from Horizon Zero Dawn. I haven't played Zero
It's
Dawn
not
yet.
like the
so.
big-headed Watu from Marvel Universe.
No, it looks like it almost looks like a little mini. It's like the cat almost looks like a little mini T-Rex with a gigantic like cylinder head with a light on the front of it.
Oh
So,
yeah, I've seen those in the ads for the game.
But this week they released. You can now get. I'm gonna mispronounce her name. Aloy.
Yeah,
the
I
main
think that's
character.
right. Yeah.
You can now get her full equipment gear, and you can get her bow.
That's so cool that they're pulling all these like crossovers. Like that's not even a Capcom game. That's a Sony
They
game.
will.
Like,
Monster Hunter did that before though, because in Monster Hunter 3 and 4 for the 3DS, you could get and unlock Link, Skyward Sword
I
costume.
missed out on that. Wow.
You could get Samus's power suit armor, and there was a bunch of other ones too.
So that's not new. That's cool. They're continuing it then.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's what Monster Hunter does. But the thing is, what you have to do though is you have to go through the event quest, get this special item that's part of the to build the equipment, and sometimes that special item you only get one of every time you go into the quest.
Right.
So you kind of have to grind it up.
Grind
And
it
in
up.
the previous games, the quests were really hard.
Are they timed quests, or can you go into it 6 months from now and still get that? You think?
I think some of them are timed. That I think you can access them for like maybe a month or two,
Okay.
and then they get locked down, or eventually they just get open to everybody. But it's usually easier to get them right away because as soon as the new quest comes available, everybody's doing the
Right,
quest.
easier to
So
find
you
a
can
party
you
to
can
jump
even hop.
into.
Yeah, you can even just hop into a party that's already in progress, and you can still get the rewards.
That makes sense.
What else has been going on? I gotta try to get back to playing Persona 5.
Yeah, you do. You're so like
I've been-
close to the.
I know
Finale.
I've been playing too much Monster Hunter, but the thing is, as soon as I was telling one of our card players last night that it's funny how I go home, I sit down on the couch and I turn my PS4 on, and then the screen comes up and there's the Persona logo, and then right beside it's Monster Hunter. I go, hey, Monster Hunter, and then I just turn Monster Hunter on. So
Hey, nothing wrong with that. They're both awesome games.
yeah, so I'm still enjoying it. I also got to get back to doing some more StarCraft 2. I played a
Right.
little bit like one weekend, and I haven't gotten a chance to get back to it.
Yeah.
But I do want to continue it because I eventually want to get through all the campaigns. But I'm really looking forward to the Kerrigan, the Zerg's campaign.
Right.
Because it seems like
How many different campaigns are in that one?
there are technically 4,
Okay.
but mainly 3. The extra one is a Nova campaign, and it's kind of like a mini campaign. I think it was like the last campaign that Blizzard did officially to say this is the end of our DLC for StarCraft 2, with the
Right.
exception of like new units that do for multiplayer. But in terms of storyline, they're like, that's it. So,
Nice.
but there's 3 main ones that I already have automatically. I'm probably not going to buy the Nova one because it's probably like a half hour or an hour DLC.
Oh, okay, not a big campaign.
I don't. It's not a big campaign compared to the other
Little
ones.
side story kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else was I looking at? I was going to start playing too. That's probably it. Just lots of Monster Hunter. I got to get to back to Persona, and I got to get back to StarCraft 2. Oh, and then eventually I'll get back into Overwatch again because they just announced a new character.
I saw that. It's engineer, right?
Yeah, it's Torbjorn's daughter.
I don't
She-
know the characters.
Okay.
I don't really relate.
Well,
I know Winston's a ape.
You remember Reinhardt, the guy in the big metal suit? With the big
Yes,
shield and
yeah,
stuff?
I do remember
She's
him.
very similar to him, but her shield only like covers her. But she's more of like a support like heal character.
Right. I actually did watch because it came up on my like Facebook feed. I watched the little intro trailer. Where she was saying like, I can only do so much from the shop. I got to go into battle and
Yeah.
like help people out. So yeah, she seemed like a support.
I like
character.
and that intro trailer that showed that first picture with like Reinhardt telling the story, and you see the little girl. And she's like, oh,
Yeah.
she's just like squealing at like all the stories. So
That's cool. I also finished season 2 of Rebels this week as well.
Ooh.
So I'm got season 3 on the horizon this next week to start up.
well, that's interesting because this week is series finale.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
I was
so I'm going to try and
surprised.
avoid spoilers for it.
I know
Yeah.
try to avoid YouTube as much as you can. Like, don't search Star Wars Rebels. But it's just interesting how they were on a break for a while, and then they came back, and now they release 2 episodes almost every week. But it sounds like this week with the series finale, it sounds like they're doing 2 regular episodes and then like an hour and a half
Oh, like a movie
big finale,
kind of.
almost like a movie finale.
Okay.
So it almost
That's
sounds
exciting.
like it's like 5 episodes in 1 week.
That's exciting. That I love when they make the last episode bigger, more grand kind of thing.
Yeah, can't just have everything square
in
up.
a 20-minute. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
that's perfect.
So I'm looking forward to watch those. But yeah, I won't say anything
Yeah, please don't.
about what happens.
I'm still up and down. I like it more than Clone Wars, but I'm not as into it as I thought I was going to be. Yeah,
I think it builds as you get into it.
that's what I've heard from everybody. So it is. I can see some little promising threads. I'm excited to see where they go.
Because, like you said, like the first season, you were kind of like, it's kind of Aladdin-y, get started. But then once
They
it
had a
started picking
total
up,
Aladdin scene in near the end of season 2 as well, where Ezra had that little Sith like triangle thing. I forget what they're called. And he jumped, and he was gonna miss the ledge, and Maul like pulled him up and grabbed him by the hand, and it was totally like that Jafar grabbing the lamp from Aladdin, like same vibe. Give me the lamp.
Give me the lamp.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
If I do that, you're just gonna drop me. No, I'm not gonna drop you. Yeah, I can see you. It's written on that piece of paper there that says "drop the kid." So I'm excited to see how that continues. So, and then looking to watch some other TV and stuff.
Yeah.
I know one TV series I got to get into, and I'll wrap this up quickly because we're delaying our time here. I was going to look into watching Designated Survivor. It's a show on ABC. It's a really good one. It has nothing to do with anime or comics or anything like that. But it's Kiefer Sutherland is the designated survivor, which is whenever the president holds a State of the Capitol or State of the Union address, there's one member of his cabinet that is taken to a secret location
catastrophic.
in case there's some sort of catastrophic thing. And in this series, that happens.
Okay.
Where the Capitol building just suddenly blows up. Everyone's gone except for Kiefer Sutherland, and he's the only one. So he instantly becomes the president. But it seems really interesting because like there's a lot of like cool scenes where like they're in the war room and the general's like, "Oh, we got a 65% match on this one terrorist guy that we're looking for," and he's like, "Do you know what a 65% is in high school? That's a D. That's a failure." So he's like, "I want you to come back when it's 99%. So like it's got a lot of interesting, political ego-ness and doing the right thing kind of stuff. So
interesting.
I'm interested in watching it. All right. With that, anyway, let's get into
time.
Card time.
Shuffle some decks and get going here.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, why don't we start with maybe our experiences with card stuff? Why don't we start with you?
Yeah, mine started about 1995. I had a cousin who bought a bunch of Magic cards, was really into it, and then his mom deemed them too satanic, and she's like, "You need to sell these or get rid of them." I bought them because they looked awesome. So I had his
dude, sell them me. You can come over. We can still play.
No, he was a lot older than me, and he lived in a different city and everything, so it was a big deal. He came, drove down, and sold me some cards, and then I started playing with friends, and so I had some of the earlier sets, no alpha or beta, which are the like crazy value ones now, but it had some unlimited, some revised, some of the like early expansions like Arabian Nights and Chronicles and Antiquities and stuff. From that, I got a bunch of friends into it too, and then we were all buying cards, which there was only one shop in Fort St. John where I lived that sold cards. So that was like our main hangout. We'd bike down there and buy 1 or 2 packs, whatever we could afford as kids, which usually wasn't very much. Mm-hmm. And then that spawned into a whole bunch of other games. I had a friend who, we were all into Star Wars, so we started playing the Star Wars TCG back then too, which we didn't have anyone to teach us, so I know we were playing it a little bit wrong, because there was this attrition mechanic we never quite understood, where you could like sacrifice things to avoid damage and like play new cards, and I'm sure we always got that wrong.
That sounds exactly like when I first tried to play Pokemon when I was really young. When it first came out, we had no idea how to play the game. And all we had was those tiny little rule books at the time, and we'd read it like 100 times and still couldn't make sense you
of
look
that
at it
rule.
and go, nope.
Yeah. I had a friend who was really into like Robotech and shows like that, so he started getting into the BattleTech card game, which we played a lot with him. Dabbled a little bit in the Star Trek one, but no one was a huge Trek fan, so that one kind of petered off. And then I found Overpower, which is this Marvel card game, which you like build your team of Marvel characters, and later on they added headquarters too, so you could have like the Baxter Building or like Doom's Fortress and stuff.
Grab one of those. I actually want to see what one looks like here.
So cool. Yeah, pop it open. So that one I pushed a lot. My friends weren't nearly as into it as me, so I would buy so many cards that I could build them decks too, and then I could make them play with me, because none of them wanted to invest.
Wow, actually that's really kind of cool.
These are the early ones too. There's a later one where they added a whole nother ability, which was intelligence. And then they had like the headquarters and stuff. But they were, I thought it was really fun, and I loved collecting before these the old Marvel just like cards that had like pictures from the comics in them. So this was cooler for me because I had the awesome art that I loved as well as a game I could play. And I ended up spending a lot of money. There was a little used bookstore that sold these, and they ended up burning down. So I had nowhere to buy Overpower cards after they burned down, unfortunately.
That sucks. No, those are actually cool. These are when were these released?
They had to be mid '90s, like 96 to '98 or something like that.
I'm getting like an '80s, '90s feel from looking at these, but a lot of really cool artwork. Like
they were awesome. Like ripped
Spider-Man
kicking some dude in the face or punching him in the face.
Yeah, just some that is a weird looking artwork, just randomly punching a guy in the face. But the one I think I went by it here was Venom.
Yeah,
that looks gnarly.
They're like the classic night. Like they have that kind of X-Men animated show kind of vibe.
Wolverine obviously looks like he's fighting Spider-Man for some reason. That's cool.
Domino. Yeah, it was something I was really into, and I'd push it on my friends, and none of them really jumped into it like I did. And then we had some like real one-off ones. Like we played a game called Legend of the Five Rings for a little bit. Vampire the Masquerade. Which I think was the same guy that made Magic, Richard Garfield, did the vampire one. None of those really stuck.
Card games trying to get on the card game wagon.
Absolutely, yeah. Magic was always the biggest one, though. It was easy to find more people to play with that one. There were more cards for sale around. It was easier to trade for things. So that one kind of stuck with me forever. Like I still play Magic once in a while. I've taken little year offs once in a while.
I can definitely agree that Magic's probably been the biggest.
Yeah.
Like if you think trading card games, that would be the number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when did Magic first start?
I think 93 was like an alpha set, which was kind of like a test market.
Yeah.
And then 94, I think, is when it started going bigger commercial.
Yeah, because like even look now, it's 2018. Just look how long it's been running.
Yeah, as big as ever. Like if you look at Wizards of the Coast sales of the game, they still hit new peaks all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's still doing great because like look at all the Magic events that happen around town.
Yeah, there's definitely more Magic than any other probably tabletop game. Even like if you're including board games or miniatures and stuff, I think Magic's like the biggest tabletop game right now.
And I like how they've done like different versions. Like of course they have like your standard and expanded kind of formats, but now there's the Commander format where it's like
is really
you have like one card that's like your leader of the deck,
and that was like a fan like version to play, and it got so popular that Wizards eventually picked it up and made rules and banned lists and stuff for it. But it was just like a neat way to deck build that people weren't getting from the standard deck building.
I also like I don't know if this is the same Commander or not, but what the guys were playing, the Magic guys were playing last night at the store. I think it was Commander.
I'm pretty sure
where you have a card that says that gives you a limitation of some form, where it's like your graveyard can only consist of 10 cards. Every other card that has to go into it gets removed from the game.
I think that was just a house rule to just have a fun, spicy deck.
I love that idea. Because it's randomized where it's like, oh, you can only have 20 health max. And it's like, oh, well, this entire deck is meant for me to have 60 health.
Yeah.
So it ruins my entire deck. So
yeah,
I love that.
Sometimes it happens.
It reminds me of the World of Warcraft had a trading card game.
Hearthstone?
No, not Hearthstone. It was the
predecessor. I forgot about that. Yeah,
the predecessor to Hearthstone, but it was the World of Warcraft trading card game. A friend of mine got a hold of it, and he got the Arena expansion pack, and it was the same kind of thing where like in between turns you draw this one card, and this Arena card goes into effect, and they were just weird, silly things where it's like the first person to offer you candy heals 3 health or something like that. It's like Mad Scramble or
Magic's actually done some goofy sets like that too. Unglued, Unhinged, and they parody their own game. And so like I remember playing with some friends, and there's one card where you like always have to be polite. Like if you don't say please and thank you after every attack, you sacrifice that creature. There was one that had like protection from denim, so you as a player had to like take off your jeans if you wanted to like attack through it. Like there's some pretty funny ones. And they also have different formats too
from denim
that are not as serious. Like they have an arch enemy one where you have one player who gets these big cards laid on the table that have these huge global effects that make him extremely powerful, and he versus 3 other players. So you have 3 people taking on one because he's so much more powerful with these extra effects.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and they've always got like sealed events too and drafts, which are common in a lot of card games now too. But drafting's my favorite way to play. It's so fun to deck build on the fly and to have new cards to add to your collection after you're done too.
Cool.
Yeah, that's basically my experience.
I guess for me, probably the start would have been Pokemon, because that was, as a kid, that was the big one for me, because Pokemon was really big, because, they had the video game Go and stuff, and then obviously Nintendo or whoever was in charge of developing the card game decided, let's make a card game out of it.
How early did you jump into the card game? Because that came up, around like 2000?
Yeah, something about that. No, actually, no. What would it?
2001,
No,
maybe?
Pokemon was.
'Cause I think the game launched in North America in 98, the video game. I'm not sure
I
about
think it was
the
90,
card game.
I thought it was 95 or something. I thought it was earlier.
I-
Because I was really young when it came out.
Yeah, we'll have to fact check it. I think North America 98 was the release date.
Oh, hang on. Let's do a fact check now. But
Let's
anyway,
do it.
but I do recall that like my cousins and I got like the original like starter box.
Yeah.
Everybody got a first edition, quote unquote. Everybody got it. A first edition Machamp.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that Pokemon card game. So we got that, but the thing was that because, like you were saying, like the rules weren't really clarify enough to teach someone who's reading it how to play it.
96 it says. So yeah, it was earlier than I thought.
96. Okay.
Wow. I don't remember anyone playing that until like closer to 2000s.
Maybe that's when it started building up in popularity. But yeah, I can recall when it first came out. Yeah, okay, so 96 apparently is when the card game came out. So I recall we got the original stuff, but we didn't know how to play the game. And it eventually got to the point where we thought we knew how to play the game,
Right.
or we actually ended up like doing...
Your own like perverted game version.
No,
of it.
we actually ended up like taking the cards and like cutting them up and gluing them and stuff, because like it became an arts and crafts project.
Right.
Because we had these cards, we had nothing to do with them, but we had like so many of them. So it's just like, all right, whatever. So
Here
they're all...
goes that first edition Charizard.
That would have been an exception, though. That was also the one card that everybody wanted. Everyone wanted a Charizard. Everybody wanted a Charizard.
Right.
And never got one. So that was interesting how I got started on that. But because I didn't know how to play the game, I just kind of left it. So it was into probably the last set, and this is really early. With the last set I would have been, I think, it's either the Gym Leaders or the Team Rocket series. I don't know which one was the later release, but it's in the beginning, like the 4th or 5th expansion. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I didn't collect it anymore, because at that point, I think I transitioned into playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Right.
So then Yu-Gi-Oh was really big.
Yeah, that game was so huge for a short time.
That was quite a bit of fun. I played with that with friends all the time. We had a lot of stuff. But eventually, I think due to, I'm going to say questionable players that we had to constantly play against here in town, that we won't name anybody, but there's certain people who were like, they would always play the same overpowered deck all the time, where they essentially just made the game not fun.
Right.
So it pretty much burnt me out of playing it for fun. So at the point, I just walked away from Yu-Gi-Oh! And never played it never again.
It seems very niche now, at least locally. Like,
yeah.
There's a few people that play, but it's like just casually with their friends kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also think too, because they changed so many rules in the game too. Because like when I first played, it was still the original rules where it's like, to summon a monster, you or depending on how many levels the monster, you have to sacrifice 1 or 2 creatures to play this. Mm-hmm. There was Mirror Force, there's all the fancy trap cards, whatnot. And then eventually they got to like doing ban lists and stuff. And even with the ban lists, you could still make a really interesting deck where it's like, okay, you can still use Mirror Force, but now you can't use Exodia or stuff like that. But now it's gotten to the point where it goes, I play this card because I played this card. It lets me search through the deck to grab this, to play this immediately.
Yeah.
Because I played this card, I can now do... And it's just like...
Magic can get like that too. Yeah.
It for fun, with some of my Weiss Schwarz players, I grabbed one of my old Yu-Gi-Oh decks. I was like, hey, let's just have a quick match. Like, I'm pretty sure we have cards that may or may not be banned, but let's just play for fun.
Okay.
So we start with my turn, and I go, okay... I go 1 face down, 2 cards face down, and my turn. And then it goes to him, and he does the, I play this, and because it's a pendulum monster, I do that, I'm just like, okay. And now then he's like, now I attack you. I use Mirror Force. Knock out all your... But it eventually it basically summed up my point that the game itself has gotten ridiculous.
Right.
For them trying to make it still fresh and new, and it's not that fun. But
right.
At that point, though, too... That's when I got hooked on to Weiss Schwarz. And
Which
then
is
eventually Pokemon.
Weiss Schwarz does neat things with the deck that I haven't seen in other games, where you get to cycle through your deck way quicker than any other card game I can think of. So, like, a lot of times when you're playing Magic, you're like, if I would have got that one card that's in my deck and I have 4 copies, like, I didn't see it. This one, you cycle through so much quicker. It feels like you have more of a chance to hit those cards you want.
Yeah. Just so, for example, I'll show, that's promo Megumin from the Konosuba set. So that's what the card game that we're talking about here. Yeah, Weiss Schwarz actually is really cool because it's all based off of anime series.
And video games, too, now.
And some video games, too, because now they have a Persona 5 set.
Yeah, they have Hatsune Miku. They've done, in Japan, they've done, like, a King of Fighters set.
They also did a Star Wars set.
They did Disgaea.
Star Wars?
Disgaea? Really? I didn't know
they
about
did a
that
Star
one.
Wars one, but apparently it's not that good.
Japan only, too? Or is
it's Japan only right now, but Weiss Schwarz, actually, those might be a little too dark to see on camera. But Weiss Schwarz, like, these are the part from the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Work set. So one of my favorite series, one of the anime series that I really love, which got me into playing this game. Weiss Schwarz, I basically, when people are asking me, like, how do you play Weiss Schwarz compared to other card games? I say most card games like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! You essentially could have, or even sometimes Magic, you can play a game and it'll be done in 2 minutes. Or just like it's just instant lost, someone's overpowered you.
Or you just don't get the lands
or you don't get the lands
like
and
that,
stuff. Weiss Schwarz essentially is a game where it's like playing League of Legends. You're guaranteed at least 20 minutes of play. Because the way that you play the game is you take damage from your opponent's characters and then you level up. That lets you play stronger cards, which then lets you deal the damage back to your opponent.
I like that there's that risk reward where, like, sometimes you'll purposely take damage to go up that level so you can play stronger stuff.
Exactly.
But then you've got less life left to play the game with.
Yeah, it's essentially whoever hits level 4 technically loses the game.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing, like you were saying with the mechanic too, is when your deck runs out, you actually just reshuffle it, put it back down. But
which in almost every other card game, when you're out of cards, you lose.
But when you do that though, you have to burn yourself 1 damage.
Yeah.
So there's, like you said, there's consequences. Yeah. So it's nice. So
it's really unique among, and I've played a ton of card games now, and it's still really unique among those, just how you interact with your deck.
Yeah. So it's really cool. The one thing though is that, you can't mix the different anime series with other ones. Like you can't put Attack on Titan in with Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
But there are a number of other animes that are represented. Some a little more support than others, but
yeah, I like it. It's kind of a double-edged sword. I like that you can have this as like your pocket side game because you don't need to buy every new set that comes out to keep up, like with a Pokemon or Magic. But at the same time, if you love Attack on Titan and you've been waiting like 2 years for the next set, like sometimes it can be a little long between sets, and some of them don't even get extra support after the initial set.
Some don't even get released here.
Yeah, and some are just stuck in Japan. So yeah, there's good and bad about how they release the sets, but I like having it as an extra game that I play in my Pantheon.
That's what I like too. Because again, like for me, like I said, like this is a game like I know I'm going to have at least 20 minutes to a half hour playing, not just instant lose or instant win.
And you just financially you don't have to spend money every 3 months to like keep up and keep competitive.
But there are like the company that organizes it is Bushiroad. They recently went through some management change, and I hope they do everything for the better, but they still need to step their game up because I find that there are too many expansion sets for one particular series because obviously they must have some sort of investment in it.
Right.
They
just see like anime and manga sales of like something like Fate does really well, so they put out more Fate cards than they do other sets. Like it might just be financial.
Well, the ones they do a lot of are one set is called Bang Dream. It's like an idol rock group, like idol girls.
Yeah.
But granted though, the set's actually pretty cool though. But I think they have their hands. But the big one is Sword Art Online.
Sure.
There are way too many cards.
Which is a big property in that.
Which is a big property, but I think Sword Art Online right now has, I think it's 5 full expansions, and some series like my favorite one, Fairy Tail, only got 1.
Right.
And they've never touched it ever again. Or Persona 5. Persona 5 only has 1 set and will only ever have 1 set.
Right.
So it's weird how they pick an anime series and they just like keep like making this the top meta deck because they keep giving so many new cards.
Yeah, there's more options. Yeah, just
and they don't go back to the old ones. And because like the anime series Fairy Tail, like they've done so many new seasons that they have tons of content they could use to make new cards with.
Right.
They just don't though. So it's annoying when that happens when you have a series that you really, really like and there's no support behind it.
Right. Have they ever announced they're doing One Punch Man at all, by any chance?
Not yet.
Or would they just be too powerful?
That's a good question. I think maybe it's due to who owns it. Because I think, somebody might correct me if I'm wrong, I think One Punch might be behind Bandai.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm not sure either. Do you know if they like typically stick to certain production companies, or do they get a lot of contracts to bounce around and pick and choose?
They kind of have contracts with a number of companies, but they don't really tend to branch off too far because like you'll never see Dragon Ball Z because they're
doing their own thing too.
They're doing their own thing. You'll probably never see Full Metal Alchemist because they did their own thing a little while back. So if there's certain card company like I'm trying to think who owns Dragon Ball Z. Card games like that. Like if it's a company that not only do they make anime, but they also have ties into making card games, they will only go through that developer.
Sure.
Like Bandai or something like that. So you'll never see like Bushiroad be able to pick up Dragon Ball Z as a set.
Yeah.
Which on mine, there's a Dragon Ball Z set out right now. So.
Yeah, and it seems to be doing all right for something new.
But yeah, anyway.
It's just hard to break into the card game world these days, so it's neat to see little ones pick up some steam.
But anyway, yeah, with Weiss Schwarz, I got into Weiss Schwarz a few years ago. And then from there, as we were playing it, I was playing with a buddy of mine, and he's like, hey, do you just want to randomly, like, get into Pokemon? I'm like, okay, sure. So we went and we just got, like, some basic starter decks and stuff. Like, one I actually had bought, like, a year and a half ago before. It was just sitting in my closet. And I didn't realize that they have codes in them that you can use for the online game. So that's all I did was I downloaded the online app. I put in the code. It gave me the deck that I had already built. And I basically learned within 2 weeks how to play the game. And I learned enough that I went and looked at what the current card sets were, built a deck out of it, ordered the cards I needed, and then just pretty much went to the store and sat down. They're like, oh, how long have you been playing Pokemon for? 2 weeks. And like that first tournament, I sat down, I took the whole thing. People were shocked. It's like this guy came out of nowhere and he took the whole tournament.
Pokemon Savant.
It's Pokemon Savant, yeah.
Did you ever play the Pokemon TCG game for the Game Boy Color?
I've played it once or twice when someone like lent it to me, but I've never actually owned it.
It's actually quite good, and it teaches you how to play the game properly, like the actual card game. And it's got a cool story to it, and I think it gets written off a lot, but I thought it was very solid.
Apparently the second one, that was Japan only, is better.
Of course.
They apparently like they updated certain things. Like I guess the first one maybe had like a glitch or a certain card combination that was just too overpowered that you couldn't ever get through it.
Right.
But the new one put in some new rules that didn't exist in the card game up until that point. So I remember seeing that as well. And I was like,
which like
did you know gaming kind of thing.
These kind of card games, they usually do like rules errata every couple of years because things get a little messy when they've been releasing a couple hundred new cards every set. They can't update old video games like that, unfortunately. But and then you get banned cards and restricted cards and just things to kind of level out the playing field so that one card or one type of deck is not dominating constantly.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think Pokemon recently did that because their new set of cards, and I'll pull it out here. Is that Pokemon? Yeah, that's Pokemon.
What's this set?
The new cards that they released for Pokemon, they recently came out, were called GX cards.
Right. I've seen some of those.
Previously, the cards that they had before were called EX. They were just super strong cards with usually super abilities. But the thing was that some of the cards were like, say, a Dragonite, but you could play it immediately as a basic Pokemon, though Dragonite's supposed to be an evolved Pokemon. Yeah. So I think Pokemon, they realized that they ran into that issue that too many players are playing too many big Pokemon out of the beginning. So now they've made GX cards, which are these ones here, my adorable Sylveon. What they are is you still have to evolve into that Pokemon, but now every Pokemon has one attack that you can only use one of this attack per game.
Right, and you get that little
and it does something interesting. So like Sylveon's ability is you put 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your opponent's hand. There are other ones where you get to pick 10 cards out of your discard pile and put them back into your deck.
Okay.
Or one of the ones that's really cool right now, the new legendary Pokemon from Sun and Moon, Solgaleo. He has his GX ability is off of 1 energy, so pretty easy cost.
Yeah.
You get to go through the entire deck and grab 5 other metal energies and put them on your Pokemon however you want. So essentially, you burn the move on purpose to supercharge all your Pokemon's energy levels.
Right, and then you got a beefed up bench.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely changed things up a lot. There are certain cards right now that can be argued that there are certain decks that are a little overpowered right now. Like Gardevoir is doing pretty good, but Pokemon seems to try to do a good blend of when they bring a new set in, they're kind of counteracting the previous set.
Right.
So, and then Pokemon essentially, like when you get into competitive play, Pokemon is just a big game of rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Because
which is how the actual game always works. So
yeah, because you can build one deck that's, say, fairy type. That's one of the dominating ones right now. Mm-hmm. Fairy is weak to metal. So then you could walk in and play a metal deck because you know you're going to do against fairy type.
Right.
Metal's weak to fire. Okay, so the next guy's going to come in, he's going to play fire. Fire's weak to metal. What's fire weak to? Water. All right, we're going to go and play water and stuff. What's water weak to? A lot of the newer water cards, which are ice type, are weak to metal. So now we're back around the circle again.
So you've went to a big event fairly recently. Did you find a lot of variety in decks there, or was it all people playing like the top tier kind of
decks? A lot of top tier stuff. Yeah. I was probably the only person in the Masters category out of 300 people who probably had the most.
What different categories are there? What is Masters exactly?
There are 3 categories. Masters is anybody born, I think, in 98.
Okay, so is it all age groups?
It's all age group.
Okay.
So as soon as you...
I thought maybe it was like a league, B league, C league, so it was like...
No, it's all by age group, which makes sense because somebody like me shouldn't be playing against somebody who's maybe 10.
Not necessarily. Like, there's been fairly recently in some of the big Magic events, like this young girl with like 10 or 11, like just clobbering some of the old pros. No, it's crazy.
That's an exception, but
it is an exception.
I just mean like in terms of how they format the tournaments, like they want you to fight people your own skill level or your own age level.
Sure.
So for me, it was 330 Masters. There was 10 to 12 matches the entire day. But I can bet that I was probably the only one who played the most out of left field deck, and I did not too bad with it. Like nice. I was in, what did I get? My rank was 132. So that's
out of 330, you said?
Out of 330.
Nice, made the top half.
That's awesome. That's the top half out of North America.
That's your first big event too?
That was my first one. Nice. My first regionals. I probably won't do competitive play because it's just too much money to travel.
If it was local, yeah, it'd be awesome. But yeah, you got to travel 9 hours to Vancouver, and you're talking hotels. Well, because
the next one in Canada is in Toronto.
Ugh,
I'm not going to Toronto.
Other side of the country, yeah.
Yeah, so I won't be doing that. So,
yeah.
But you know,
I've went to a few Magic Pro Tour qualifiers, which were in Edmonton. I have family to stay with there, thankfully. But they're a lot of fun. Just to like, even when you get knocked out, like I did really poorly the first one I went to, and I lost all my games immediately and was knocked out. And they run all these little casual events and drafts like every 30 minutes. So you've always got fun things to do, even if you didn't achieve what you wanted to at the actual event. That
would have been nice, actually, the Pokemon. But because you're stuck playing all day that they didn't have time to do special events like that. So, but I can recall though when I was playing a match. I think it was my 5th match of the day. I was playing against a guy who came from North Carolina or something like that. So he came all the way from the States
to Vancouver.
That's
the other side of the States too.
Yeah, that's why I say out of all those numbers, like I'm gonna guess it's out of North America. So you could say I'm within the top half of North America, which is still pretty good. Mm-hmm. But I was playing against this guy, and I was using my deck against him. For those who are interested, it is the Marshadow toolbox. So Marshadow is a Pokemon that any basic Pokemon that's in your discard pile, he can use their attacks as long as he has the required energy. Mm-hmm. So essentially, I just purposely put in cards that I know that will help me block against almost every meta build possible. But there are limitations because if abilities get locked out, I'm done because it's ability on Marshadow. So I was playing this deck against the guy, And after we were done, and he's like, "Oh man, that was such a cool deck," because like he saw like I came out of left field because everybody was all playing Guard of War and this and that, and everyone's all playing the top like 3-4 meta decks.
Yeah.
And I'm the only guy who showed up with this brand new built deck, and he's like, "Oh, dude, I hope you make it to the top 16 or something," because like he wanted to see that deck continue.
It's always cool when you see something just really weird in that top 16, top 8 kind of categories that just doesn't fit with everything else. Yeah, it's like the underdog that everyone
it was
wants to
funny
root
too
for.
because like as I was playing him, like you could see like he's watching me get set up, and he's like, "I have no idea what this guy's doing." And as soon as I put my Marsh Shadow into play, he went, "Oh," like he knew immediately. And he's like, "That's such a cool idea." Like people either forgot about it or they didn't even think about how to use this card. So
Neat.
since then, unfortunately, I think Marsh Shadow's not viable anymore as a deck because there's too many cards that kind of counteract it.
Right.
But it was still an amazing deck though. So.
And we've talked a lot about card games that you buy out of packs and you get random assortments cards. Have you ever played any card games that are all contained? You buy them, you have every card in the set.
Oh.
Like Netrunner is probably the biggest one right now that's like that. So you buy the core set, you have every card that's in that set, and they call that one a living card game. So when an expansion comes out, you buy that expansion, which is around this size, you have every card that exists in that expansion to play with. So you're always on a complete level playing field with the other opponent with what cards are available to you. It's all about your deck building and your decisions while you're playing.
Not to the scope of like these card games, but could you argue like Cards Against Humanity or Cyanide Happiness Joking Hazard is kind of like that because you do have all the cards, but that's more of a board game.
And it's more of a casual fun game. You are competing, but like no one really cares about the points or who won afterwards. It's just about the laughs while you're playing kind of thing. Another one that I played not too long ago is called Strife. And it's got really small decks. Like you and your opponent both have 9 cards in your deck. And they're the exact same cards. And they're like druids, orcs, wizards, necromancers, like all these very fantastic creatures. And then you've got another small deck of planes that they're going to battle on. So you'll flip them over and you'll have this like underworld where the necromancer might have an extra bonus. And so you can choose which one of your 9 to play. And the one that you play has a certain ability. And the one that's in your discard also gives a different ability. So they kind of interact together, who's in the discard and who's out. So you just have to make better decisions than your opponent because you guys have the exact same decisions to make. It's really, really neat game.
The big game of rock, paper, scissors, lizard
Absolutely.
Spock.
Yeah. That is pretty much what Strife is. And it's so small and contained that it's fun to try and outwit your opponent with the limited decisions you have.
Does that field card, are you aware of it before you play the card?
Yeah, you have all the same information that your opponent has, and you get to know exactly what planes are out there. And some of the guys you can play can actually manipulate the planes and change them too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking it'd be fun, like if the field card randomly gets put face down, you have no idea where you're going to be fighting, and you go, okay, do I do the wizard? Do I do the necromancer? Let's go with the necromancer. You're in the Holy Plains. Oh no.
Yeah, there's some interesting interactions, and it's really hard to find good tabletop card games other than the ones that you deck build yourselves that are good for 2 players. And both Netrunner and Strife are fantastic for 2 players.
That one sounds hilarious.
It's good, yeah. Really good.
It sounds really good. What else? Yeah. So
we haven't talked about some of the other formats. Like we briefly mentioned, like sealed events and draft events.
Right.
Those are like my favorite because you're cracking open random packs, building a deck on the fly with just what's available to you, as is everyone else, and just doing what you can with a limited pool of cards.
I think sealeds and drafts, actually are probably I'm in agreement with you that they're probably the funnest events and the best events because they, like you said, they put everybody on the same playing field.
Yeah, it's not whoever spent $500 in a deck versus $50, but you do get those instances that I think you're going to mention.
But it's also a chance to figure out how good of a player you actually are.
Sure.
Because like with Pokemon stuff, like we've done sealed events all the time where essentially you get your 8 packs of cards. These are your 8 cards to build a deck. It's our 8 packs of cards for you to build a deck with. Mm-hmm. Energy cards are provided by the store, whatever. But these are the only ones that you have. So you got to build an entire deck out. And like you sitting there and you figure it out, go, okay, I have a dominant of fighting type Pokemon, so maybe I'll do a fighting type deck. And like you got to sit there and you got to figure out.
Yeah, it's not one of those things where you can go online and say, this is the deck I want to build because this won the last Pro Tour. Like, you've got to think on your own and build this deck.
Yeah, I like those because you do have to think about those. And sometimes you can get lucky on the polls, and sometimes you get absolute garbage, and you're just like, oh, great.
When you win with that garbage, though, is the best feeling. When someone plays this like $50 card, and he's got this just amazing deck because he got these lucky pulls out of it, and you can beat that with your little garbage deck.
I actually had that. The Guardians Rising Pokemon set. We did a sealed for it at the store. And one of our newest players that recently joined us, who's actually an experienced player, he built a Tapu Lele deck. So Tapu Lele is a card
that's like the one everyone wants.
That's
right
like
now, right?
Right now it's like that's the money
the
card.
hot card.
Like
yeah.
that's like a card that has to be in every single set. I should know. I don't have it in my deck. I was gonna I should pull it out if I show it, but I don't actually have it here with me. It is the card that everybody decked. But essentially, he built the deck only running that card and pure energy. Because Tapu Lele's attack is it deals 20 damage for every energy card equipped to it and your opponent. So in theory, he immediately has his one Pokemon that he needs because you have to start with a basic Pokemon. So guaranteed, no matter how many times he mulligans, he will always start with that card.
Right.
Energy, 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 energy. He can knock everything out within 4 or 5 turns. So we got to the last round, and I think I was 1-1 at this point. And I knew I was going to play this deck. I'm like, oh man, if I just figure out how to take this down, it's going to be great.
Yeah,
like
that
idea of like, I kind of have a garbage deck, and this is like right now for this build, that's the top tier deck you could have built.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do I take this down? So we get to the point where he's dealing damage to me, and he's adding energy, and he's dealing damage to me, and every time you knock out a Pokemon, you take a prize card.
Yeah, 6 prize cards and you win.
With a sealed, we do 4.
Okay.
Because the limitation.
Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
So we do 4. So he's taking his prize card, and he's getting his last one set up. And then I remember, and I had it ready in play, and I think it only needed 1 energy or something to use, but it was Mimikyu, the ghost Pokemon that looks like Pikachu.
Ooh, yeah.
I love him. He's adorable. His attack is you can use your opponent's attack against them. So I put him into play. I used Tapu Lele's attack against itself, knocked it out, and since he had no more Pokemon to play, I won the game.
That's awesome.
It was such a fun match though, because it was getting to the point where I was sitting there, I was doing the math in my head. I'm like, he just needs to play 1 more energy. If he doesn't play 1 more energy, I'm screwed because I've done the math. I will be 20 damage
so he
short.
His own decisions against him.
Yeah,
awesome.
So I was just sitting there waiting for him, like, okay. He put energy down, and I'm doing the math in my head again. He takes a prize card. We're getting down to like the last 2 cards. I'm sitting there doing the math again in my head. It's like the beautiful mind thing where I'm just figuring everything out, like when to play this. And then the situation came. I played it. It was fun.
Nice. Yeah, you do run into those risks when you're doing a sealed or draft where you just have someone who pulls like amazing cards, all that work together, all in the same color, and you can't beat it. But that doesn't happen very often. So it's nice to play a lot of commons and uncommons that don't necessarily get a lot of constructed play. Mm-hmm. And I like that you get to interact with cards that you don't normally interact with, and it makes you think on the fly a lot more too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, as to cards that like, I guess maybe your overpowered stuff or like stuff that you buy as a set and that's it.
Well, overpowered had packs too.
Okay.
These are just like the pre-constructed decks that I've got here.
I don't really see many of those. Like everything nowadays seems to be booster pack. Like here's your starter deck.
They're normally not
packs.
sold in the same section of the store that these are. They'll be on the board game section. So if you go,
they'd be like they're like the deck building games.
Yeah, like Legendary is a big one right now too. Yeah, so you'd go over to where they sell their Sellers of Catan, their Ticket to Ride, and you find Legendary and Netrunner and Strife and those kind of things there.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've seen those, but I've never like.
Legendary is a really good one.
I've never jumped into it. I've never gone like, all right, let's go for it. For me, I'm like, it's a deck building game. I'm like, oh, I already played deck building game, but it's a different style.
Like Legendary, you can play cooperatively with people, so you can play against the game kind of thing. They're really balanced too, because they don't have to account for new cards coming out to tweak things and make sure everything's in balance. So they make sure that whole game is balanced when they ship it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Which one's Legendary? Is that the Marvel one?
They have a lot of different Marvel versions. They've got like an Alien versus Predator version. They keep putting out new ones all the time that just have different themes. But they're essentially the same kind of game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd
So
probably
you
like
basically just-
I'd like a Marvel one.
Yeah, there's a few Marvel ones that are really cool theme to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we kind of jumped into all the different card stuff and different formats and stuff. Maybe we should talk about like how to protect your cards and how to.
Yeah, there's really common to see people come with a whole backpack full of stuff, not just a deck box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is like a lot of like younger kids and stuff still learning how to properly protect their cards and stuff. So
Rubber band, back pocket.
maybe with this then, because there will be certain cards that you want to protect. For me, if I can quickly find them here, Weiss Schwarz has a really cool idea with their cards. Is they have, I think it's 1 out of every 4 to 3 booster boxes.
How many packs are in a box typically?
20.
Right.
So out of 3 full booster boxes, that's roughly how the ratio works out. There are, and I hope this shows up okay.
Yeah.
These are signed cards by the voice actor or actress that voices that character in the anime. Mm-hmm. So these cards here are like, these are the ultimate money cards for collectors.
Now, do they always have alternate art from the regular versions of those cards too?
Sometimes they can, sometimes they don't.
And they're foil as well usually.
They are foil, yes. Yeah. They do change the artwork though, because if I can find, no, it's another Rin. Like for like Rin here, the original card is more zoomed up on her face,
right? For
the regular version of it, but this one
here, they crop to the same.
They zoom out, crop pictures. They sometimes for, actually, Attack on Titan is a good example. Their foil climax cards, the one that sits sideways.
Yeah. They
actually completely change the artwork because your regular version, just regular card, is maybe this up close to like a person's face,
right? While
the full foil one is like full zoomed out, the character standing on a dead Titan body, and it's all holographic foil and everything. So they do change the artwork sometimes and stuff.
Now, what do you think of foil? That I hate foil cards. I love the look of these signed cards, and I do have a bunch of them that I cherish. But in a typical like Pokemon Magic, I hate pulling a foiled card. I am always happy to trade or sell those right away and just get a regular card.
I'm gonna go with I'm a crow. I like shiny. It's shiny. You know, why would you go for the regular card when you could go for the shiny one?
Because it is so challenging to make your whole deck shiny, and when you've got just a few cards that don't match the rest of your cards, that drives me nuts. I want everything to look similar, have that same theme.
That's kind of, I don't know how to put it. I wouldn't say it's an ego thing, but it's kind of like a.
It can be sometimes.
It's either ego, ADD, or you have too much money.
Yeah.
So, like, if I really wanted to, like, if I wanted to make, like, I already have 2 of these now already, but one I traded for, one of these I actually pulled.
Right.
If I actually wanted to go and, like, max out all these in my deck, this card here is like $80 by itself.
Right. Yeah.
So that
cost goes up. Like, what would a regular one cost in comparison to 80
for this version of it?
Yeah.
$10.
Yeah, it's
$10,
a
$20.
significant jump when you have foil and when you have like the signed cards and stuff.
The other thing too is you run risk of ruining them too.
Sure.
Because like I've seen people who like have nice full art cards and stuff, but I see them walk up and they do the bridge shuffle, and I cringe every time I see that. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, oh, it's okay. I know how to do it properly, so I don't damage the cards. I'm like, no, you're damaging the cards.
I do that specifically to annoy people. I have like a commander deck for Magic that's got a few cards in it that are like $200 to $300, and I shuffle it like that right in front of them, knowing that they know what's in there. I'm really not worried about the value of my cards. Typically.
No, unless you don't care about it, then it's fine. But it depends on the card game though too, because like I randomly bought 2 packs of Pokemon yesterday, and I did actually get a nice full art trainer card.
The art does look
really good. The artwork in
awesome.
Pokemon has changed a lot.
It's very cool
for their cards, so that they're full art Mars. So it looks gorgeous. Mm-hmm. They actually do a little more work on, like, say, the detailing.
I like how the Pokemon foils are, like, textured, too.
Yes.
Magic foils aren't like that.
Yeah, I like how they texturize them. Even Weiss Schwarz, sometimes, they don't really texturize as much, but they at least change up, like, their foil patterns and stuff.
Signature's raised, is it not?
It's more embedded.
Gotcha.
But
we kind of got away from what we were talking about. We were talking about how to protect these things.
Right, protecting our cards. So I recommend any game you play, no matter what it is, you want to invest in good sleeves, because they will protect your cards a lot longer than just keeping the cards out by themselves. I see.
There's also the risk of when you don't sleeve your cards is if they do get scratched up, even if you don't care about that, if you go to a tournament or an event and the card's scratched up enough that you can identify it in your deck, it's illegal to play with that card too.
Because it ends up being marked.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just a good idea, even if you don't care about the value or the condition, just to keep it as playable as long as possible.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's also too, like, I see a number like younger kids, like they'll show up with, just Pokemon cards just as they are, no sleeves, no what. So like your idea, like like they'll get marked up,
they'll get back corners, they'll get scratch backs. Like,
keeping them in sleeves also makes it easier to shuffle.
Yeah, it can, especially with new cards. When you open brand new packs of cards, they kind of like to stick and clump together. Once they've been played a bit, they're easier to shuffle. But
one thing you were saying about the foil stuff that I forgot to mention, that it's a good idea actually to immediately sleeve foil cards like this because of the holographicing and because of the foilness, they will start to slightly curve.
Yeah, Magic cards do that too.
So if you, as soon as you can sleeve something, like even just a basic sleeve, it'll keep the condition of that card running a little bit longer.
And same thing with that curve. You can identify in your deck. You can cut right to those kind of things. So yeah,
I've noticed that with some of my cards before. Like even with sleeves, like I've even purposely figured out like that's my card, and like I should actually eliminate this card out of my deck because I don't want to be. Oh, I know that's my card in that prize pool every single time. I don't want to be that guy. So it's good.
It's smart to sleeve them regardless of what your intent to sleeve them is. Like if it's play, if it's collecting, whatever. And
buy good sleeves. Like don't cheap out. Like unfortunately, we all play on limited budgets.
Yeah.
But it's also a wise idea to buy some more quality sleeves.
The quality sleeves, they shuffle better. Like if you buy penny sleeves, they'll protect your card a little bit. They're gonna rip. They're almost impossible to shuffle.
Yeah.
Some people will even double sleeve. They'll buy like a penny sleeve to throw it in like a dragon shield, like Dustin's got.
Yeah, I was gonna say my recommendation is to grab the dragon shield cards, which are
really
these
quality,
ones here. Yeah. These ones here in particular are the purple matted ones. I find matte works much easier for shuffling than the
I think most people
straight glossy ones.
Matte, yeah.
The glossy ones tend to stick to each other a little too much.
And they've got a dozen plus different colors and shades.
The I recently bought for my Persona stuff. Actually, I think I brought it here. Oh, it's sitting right there in front of me. For the Persona stuff, I used to do this in Pokemon, but I've stopped doing it because I was getting tired of rechanging color sleeves all the time. So for Pokemon, when I play, I only have one flat purple, like the purple matte ones, and that's all I will ever use. So I don't have to keep taking a card out, put in a new one.
Right, you can just put it out of the box into the deck.
With the Persona cards, for me, because with Weiss Schwarz, like we were saying, that it's once you have the set, you have the set.
Yeah.
So for me, what I do is I like to match the color sleeve or the specialty sleeve to what I'm playing.
Right.
So for this Persona 5 set, because it's all about the Phantom Thieves and their main colors are red and black, I decided, hey, why don't I go for some black Dragon Shields? Because it'll make them look nice.
And you can always get novelty ones too. I'm a big Mega Man guy, so I've got some different Mega Man, Proto Man characters, kind of sleeves from the games.
Yeah.
They're not quite as high quality as the Dragon Shield ones, but you can. It's nice to personalize your decks to things you enjoy.
Same idea with my Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works set. These are actual
Unlimited Blade Works. Star Wars kind of look, like the old movie posters. Yeah.
These are actually like kind of like foil sleeves, but these sleeves themselves, I have to protect them as well. So on that note,
that's a whole nother level.
That's a whole nother level of, when you get to getting fancy sleeves like this here, you might want to protect those. So maybe you might want to invest in some oversleeves, because then you can fit them over top of the entire sleeve.
You risk the cards not coming out either.
You risk the card not coming out either, but you also protect the fancy sleeve. Yeah. The Dragon Shield, if a Dragon Shield gets damaged, I can easily replace it with a new one.
Yeah.
These ones in particular here were probably a limited run.
Like I find another pack.
That might be hard to find. So those ones I want to keep protected as long as I can.
And you've also got the next most common thing you've got your sleeves in here is deck boxes.
Yes.
A couple different ones. These are like the cheapest of the cheap kind of thing.
These work pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the number that they hold. They hold 80.
They hold 80 sleeved cards, don't they?
They hold 80 sleeved cards, and probably 60 double-sleeved cards.
Oh. And
Actually, that's pretty close because Weiss Schwarz we play with. Actually, no. There we go. That would be the number because these are double-sleeved, and I had these sitting in here.
yeah.
So that's 50 cards. So it would be arguably that you could fit 100 regular sleeved cards in there,
Sure.
or at least 100 cards. As soon as you double sleeve stuff, you got to basically split it in half.
So they like this is the low end. You put a deck in there. That's it. You've got some fancier Ultimate Guard ones here.
Yeah, these ones actually are my favorite ones because these ones here, not only can they help hold your deck in here, you get a little extra cup that you can put some side cards into, but they work great, especially for Magic Weiss Schwarz Pokemon, that you can have the bottom compartment hold
Dice tokens.
all your dice,
yeah,
all your counters, all your markers that you need for the game, especially for Pokemon because now that they've introduced the GX mechanic, for tournaments, you are supposed to have, even if you don't have it in your deck, a GX counter.
Sure.
So you're supposed to have these with you at all times,
It's
as
nice to
well
have
as
everything in one contained
area. Your
status
your
tokens.
burn and poison counter and a coin, or you can even, or the other rule is just a translucent die that's different from all your other dies.
This is one of my favorite deck boxes I've ever owned. They're just like a leather. They've got a magnetic like flip on the front. They're very hard underneath that leather. You can fit 2 full sleeve decks of 100 in there. It doesn't have room for tokens and stuff, but if you're running, if you go into a tournament where you only have one deck, the other side's tokens, dice, that kind of stuff. And you can get pretty crazy ones. They have like whole towers where you can like twist them open and you've got like room for 5 or 6 decks plus dice plus tokens.
I have one that's similar because it's the same company, Ultra Pro one. It's a black one that I think it's called a Tower Pro or something like that, where it's got a little on the bottom compartment. It's got a little slide compartment that could hold a deck or your dice and stuff, and it still has another one on the top. And then the little door swings open and closed to lock it into place with a magnet.
Yeah.
I found that one there after too much use. The one side of the flap is actually wearing away, and with the magnet on there, the magnet's not strong enough to keep it shut.
Oh, really?
So if you have it in like a box that's moving around stuff, I've had it actually open up on me a couple times. That's why I like these ones better because they click in.
These ones I like more
sturdy.
The style. These are very pretty looking. They may not be as efficient as something like this, but I like the look. And I've had these for a couple of years. I've had no issues with the magnets or things popping open. But just it doesn't take much force, so I could see you even if you're carrying it in a backpack with something else, a book or something might bump it open.
Okay, this one actually feels a little more durable because I think there's 2 magnets.
Yeah.
In this one, the one I have it's an exposed magnet on the front, and there's only one.
Oh, okay.
So like I would say, yours is probably double the strength of what mine is.
Yeah, and it will wear out eventually. But those are the 2 basics. Most people have sleeves and they have deck box because you're going to protect your cards that way.
Yeah. In any card game, no matter what it is that you play, it's always wise to invest in good sleeves and invest in a good deck box.
And sleeves don't cost very much.
Not that
even
much.
The good ones, like the Dragon Shields are what, 13 bucks?
Yeah, not even. And you get like 100 sleeves.
Yeah.
So that'll cover.
And that's like the high end of sleeves. Like you can spend half that and still get decent sleeves.
Yeah, like even getting the 100 Dragon Shields, that'll cover 2 full Pokemon decks. That'll cover a Weiss Schwarz deck. And Magic doesn't have a restriction on card size, right? On deck size?
It has a lower end limit. So if you're playing a draft or sealed, 40 cards is the limit. If you're doing a regular constructed, 60 cards or more. You can put as many in as you want, as long as you have at least 60. If you're doing Commander, you need 100 cards, so you need 100 sleeves for that one.
Yeah, so then one full Dragon Shield box is perfect for you. I know for people interested, people who buy the... do I have them here? Actually, I might have one here in this box here. The Elite Trainer boxes that you can buy for Pokemon stuff come with sleeves, like this one here.
And they last pretty good too.
You would think they would last.
I've had, I don't play as much as you do, but me and my son play Pokemon every couple of weeks, and we've always used those kind of sleeves, and I haven't had any rip yet.
I've seen a lot of people that you can tell they've been used because this backing actually starts to peel off.
Sure.
So this kind of sleeve here, for me personally, if you're going to use these ones, you would almost want to do what I do with my Fate ones. You might want to invest in a double sleeve, because then an oversleeve, because then that way you can keep it protected longer.
Sure.
So
They're a good value though when you get those trainer boxes because you get all your cards, you get your sleeves, you get your dice, you get your status tokens.
Yeah, they
they're
work
good for
perfect.
beginners.
They work perfect for anybody who's starting the game, like you said, because you get everything you need. You get the nice counters, not just little cardboard cutout stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, they work great for anybody starting, but for me personally, they're a good starting point. Yeah. But I would say invest in some better sleeves.
Yep. Yeah, and you can always upgrade.
Or at least
they'll last you a couple months until you can upgrade down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Play mats are pretty common too.
Right. Actually, you got a couple.
I do. I don't know if you can see from here. I got a Mega Man one with all this stuff on it that I love, but I've got a big Zelda one up here as well.
This way, maybe the light will hit it more.
Sure.
Yeah, that's probably another good thing for somebody to invest in.
So these are basically giant mouse pads. They're nice, soft, foamy. Things slide off them easy, so you don't need to scratch the backs of your cards or your sleeves while you're playing them on a deck. They're not necessary, but they're beneficial and they're extremely common just because it's nice to also personalize what you're playing with again. So like even though I'm playing a game like this Mega Man one's for a game called Ultimate Fighting System, I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't play that game. I've tried. It's not very good. I love this mat though, and even when I'm playing Magic or Pokemon or Weiss Schwarz, I usually play with like a Mario or a Mega Man mat just because it adds a little personality of my personality to the game we're playing.
Mm-hmm. For me, I'm in agreement that mats work well. You know, when you go to say a card tournament or a card shop, whatnot, there's no guarantee how clean that table is.
And some of them will have mats there, like they make table-sized ones, but they're not always guaranteed to be there.
But there's also no guarantee what condition those table set
someone
ones.
could have spilled something on there last time.
I've seen too many pop cans spilt over on stuff, so it's always a good idea to have a mat to go maybe even on top of that mat. That way you protect the backing of your sleeves and stuff. So that way you don't get like sticky sleeves that you're gonna have to replace.
It also keeps you contained if you're playing at a tournament where there's people lined up down the table, and as long as your cards stay on your mat, you're not invading other people's spaces too.
Yeah, that's always a good idea too.
And like some of the Pokemon ones will have like place your cards here, and they'll kind of show you where to keep things. So if you're new to the game too, they can be teaching tools.
Yeah, there are. I know some players don't like the placement ones, but some people do. I'm middle ground. It depends on the design of the mat. Because like the ones like you said, like they have like the spaces that tell you your deck box goes here, or they're just the squares and you know where they go.
Yeah.
If they look really like well designed, like say it's like a Pokemon gym or something like that, it works really good. If it's a bunch of artwork and stuff, I don't want too many boxes covering up the artwork because like your Legend of Zelda one, I don't want a white box going like right across his forehead.
Right.
So
yeah, they're not as visually appealing, but they're handy. Like when I was learning a game called Dice Masters, which is a mix of a card game and a dice game, it had these awesome mats that had room for both players on them, and it showed both players where things need to go because it is important to have them lined up. It makes when you're doing battles a lot easier when things are together rather than all over the place.
Yeah, and like you said, even for tournaments, that works great too because it says you sit here, your opponent sits here. This is your entire field.
We know how many people we can fit to this table comfortably too.
Yeah. One other thing that we didn't talk about, binders.
Yeah, binders and sleeves.
Why don't we start with yours?
This is kind of an old school binder. They're not as popular as they used to be when I was a kid. But you basically get like a school binder, like a D-ring binder. You'd buy your card sleeves separately, and then you could throw whatever cards you wanted in there.
Yeah, that's usually the cheaper option. Most people usually go
and they're
right away.
Really out of popularity these days. These are not. You can still buy them anywhere, but they're not as common.
Yeah. The one thing though, I've always had an issue with those card pages.
Yeah.
That if you ever accidentally flip that binder upside down, you run risk of the cards falling out.
And they do make sleeves that are side loading now, so that's less of an issue. Yeah. But the cheapest ones are always the top loading ones.
Yeah,
like
probably more to the style of mine here.
Yeah, this is a big one. You usually don't get 4-slot pages. This is a fancier one.
Though it's bigger, I love this idea of having 4 across.
4 makes sense for every card game. I don't know why it took them so long to get into that.
Because every card game usually always says you can only have 4 of one particular card. So in this situation here, I can say, here are my 4 Mewtwo's. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't need any more Mewtwo's. So if I open another Mewtwo GX, it just immediately goes into my trade binder.
Yeah. So most binders still come 3, which I don't understand why they don't all come standard as 4 these days.
And then this one's nice because it zips up.
Yeah.
It's self-contained, so I can even flip it upside
Yeah,
down.
they're
And
usually hardbound.
Like you said, these ones are side-loading.
Yeah.
So they actually have no risk of falling out of the binder unless I just have it unopened.
Yeah. So most people will bring binders to events to trade for other cards. They'll have their big trade binder, and you'll look through someone else's, and that's a nice way to keep them safe and travel them well. Downside is you've got a lot of value all in one place, so you watch that binder. You don't forget it somewhere. You
watch
don't
it
leave
like
it
a mother
unattended. Like, those when they go missing, I feel so bad. But there's really not a lot you can do unless the cards start showing up in their unique cards. Like it's hard to find what happened to your binder.
Yeah, I have a Yu-Gi-Oh binder that has quantified itself and disappeared because it held a bunch of my old like cards I really liked, like Dark Magician and stuff like that and stuff. But it was sitting at my folks' house, and I know that when I went to school in BCIT and stuff, I never took it with me. But I knew it existed there, and I thought to myself one day, I was like, hey, I still have that binder. I wonder if any of the cards are worth money, because I could maybe get some money for it and stuff. So, I came home for Christmas one time, tore apart my old room, couldn't find the binder. I'm like, where did this binder go? Like, I know, like, it was one of those, like, navy blue 5-star binders. So, like, I knew exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Amongst all the other binders and stuff, and couldn't find it. My mom has a lot of, like, books and binder stuff that she uses for her job and stuff, so I was looking through those and stuff. We couldn't find anything. My folks recently had a new house put onto their lot, so we had to take everything out of the old house and then put it into the new house. Still haven't found the binder.
Wow.
So it's
binder, probably gone at this point.
It kind of sucks because like it had a lot of like nice mementos cards.
Yeah, it's memories too. Not just value sometimes.
So that being a case of the binder went missing not because somebody stole it, because it got misplaced.
Yeah, I've had people like lose it out of their backpack while they're biking, kind of thing too. Like if anyone sees one down in like this area of town, like
it's gone.
And they usually don't show up because some kid walking home from school finds it and he's like, "Sweet Pokemon cards,
magic cards! This one's worth $150."
So there's one small or big downside to it, but as long as you're careful with things, they're really really handy to have.
There was one other thing that I figured would be a good idea to talk about. Now I can't remember what it was now.
With accessories again?
I think so. I can't remember what it was now. It was something. Hang on. Let's see. Okay. So we talked about the cards, different card games. We've talked about the deck boxes. We talked about the sleeves,
binders.
We talked about binders.
Yep. We briefly mentioned some of the accessories, but like a lot of people will personalize their counters and their dice too. Not a big deal, not necessary to play the game, just a fun thing to do if you're looking for things to make your setup more unique. You can buy your own special colored dice. Some of them will even have different symbols rather than just the little pibs on them. But not necessary, just a fun thing to do.
The other thing maybe it comes with gameplay. I'm thinking here in terms of attitude and good sportsmanship and stuff is always a good idea to practice. I know with Pokemon, because I've actually become an official judge on it now, so I try to keep...
Professor Dustin,
yeah. So there's certain things that I try to make sure that I follow in place when I see the Pokemon tournaments happen and stuff. One thing, though, and I know it's hard to... especially younger players, it's hard to make sure they're doing this, but it's always a good idea that if somebody has a game in play, try not to talk to them.
Yeah, don't comment on that game and
don't comment on them,
especially
because
at a tournament or an event level.
Especially when it's like, you have this one card in your hand, you're like, oh, cool, man, and like now you've just given information away to the opponent that something is either coming or it's about to happen. Yeah. So it's always best when you see a game that's in play, as I always say to like our Pokemon players and stuff, concentrate on your own game. Like if even it's side by side person, focus on yours. You can talk to your friend about this later.
Yeah, after the game's
focus
over,
on yours.
Talk about it.
And if you're watching somebody's tournament, don't say anything. Don't even gasp. Don't even just sit there and be just nice and quiet. If you are prone to talking stuff, walk away.
Yeah, find a spot off by the counter. Go talk to the staff.
I feel bad for one of our casual players that I've played against. That he and I go back and forth playing good decks against each other all the time. Like I'm pretty sure we're rivals when it comes to playing Pokemon.
He's your Gary.
Yeah, he's the Gary Oak to my Ash Ketchum. We were playing back and forth, and we were getting down to essentially like 3 minutes left in the game. Like we were getting down to the wire. Each of us have maybe 1 or 2 prizes left to go. So like essentially whoever messes up first is going to lose.
Right.
And we had some other players come over and they were talking, da 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 da. And then the player I was playing against, he misplayed a card. He needed to play this card before he did this one, but he did the second one first, which ruined up his entire strategy, which then set me up for the win. So on that instance, make sure you leave the players alone, let them play their game, because
good intentions can turn a game real bad.
Especially because like with even under official Pokemon rules and stuff, when you're selecting a card to play, you're under a time gun. Like I think Pokemon rules said that when you're like selecting a card out of your hand to play, you only have like 20 seconds. If a judge comes over and sees that you spent like 30, 40 seconds just picking one of these cards to play, he's going to say you're a delay of game, which can be a punishable offense for either game loss or prize loss or whatever.
Yeah, especially if you have multiple infractions, they can just boot you eventually too. Yeah.
So,
you can have the best intentions in the world and really screw up a game. So, yeah, I agree with Dustin. Just keep quiet, enjoy watching. Don't comment if you can't handle that. Walk away, find something else to do until the timer resets the round. Yeah,
and then even that too, have good sportsmanship.
Yeah, and that goes beyond the games too. Like you see a new player come in there, don't rip them off in a trade. You know, give them some
that
good
was
value.
the other thing I was going to suggest we talk about was trading.
Yeah, that etiquette extends beyond just playing the game. That it's the whole community aspect of it. You want these people to have a good time.
If granted though, I will admit I've done it a couple of times myself. But like say if a player like Pokemon, going back to Pokemon, I like to use Pokemon a lot for examples today.
Sure.
If a younger player pulls a full art card like this one here, like this Guzma, which actually is a really good card, I will see so many people be like, oh, I'll trade you for that. Da, 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 da. Okay, hang on. Give him some space.
Yeah.
But maybe get your offers ready to go. So usually what I do when it comes to trading is if someone comes to me and says, hey, you want to trade with me? I go, sure, I want to trade with you. So what we'll do is we will sit down with each other. I will pass him my binder. He will pass me his. We will look at what each player has available. And then from there we say, okay, I'm interested in this one, this one, this one. What about you? I'm interested in this one and this one. What our practice with Pokemon, what we do, and a lot of my players at the store too have been doing this really well, so I'm really proud of them for doing this. Anytime that they want to do a trade, we look up onto a website what the card price is worth. For us, even though it's an American site, Troll and Toad is a good site for pricing for cards. Face-to-Face Games, which is a place out of Montreal.
A lot of Magic guys use face-to-face.
A lot of Magic, a lot of Pokemon stuff. Sometimes they don't have the prices posted if the card's sold out, but it's still good.
Do you guys use Card Kingdom as well?
I haven't used that one yet.
No? Use that a little bit for Magic too.
But what we'll do is essentially we'll look up the card and say, okay, this card is worth X amount of dollars. So let's say 15. So this card is worth 15 that I want from you. I need to trade you an equivalent of $15 worth of cards. If I'm maybe $16 over, if it's $1 difference, maybe it doesn't matter to me. So
You're in the ballpark.
I'm very proud that my players are practicing the trade of don't screw over another player, especially if they're a younger one.
Yeah.
Trade value for value.
I see that often in Magic too. They're almost to a fault, like value for value. Like that 15 and 16 won't always jive, and they'll be like, we need both to have 16 here. When I'm trading with someone who's been playing and experienced, as long as they get a card they want, I get a card I want, I'm usually happy, even if there's a big money discrepancy. But with new players specifically, do not take advantage of that. Try and get that value really, really close.
I actually had an example of that last night. A Weiss Schwarz player of ours randomly bought a set of Pokemon, and he pulled this hyper rare
Shiny
Leafeon. So I saw that, and I knew it was something I want for my Keeps binder, because I love evolutions. Like for me, having one of these, I needed. So I was like, hey, I will trade you for that immediately right now. I don't have a whole lot of stuff on me right now, but I will trade you for it. He looked at me and said, buy me 2 packs of Miku Hatsune Weiss Schwarz. And I looked at him and said, you're holding a $18 card and you want me to buy it for $10? And he went, yep. And I went, I was like, okay, even though you're willing to do it, I will buy you 3 packs of cards.
Yeah.
So I would felt guilty if I gotten, paid half the price for this card.
I've had people do that too, and it's hilarious because they'll be like, buy me a pack of Magic for this $3 or this like $6 or $7 card, and then they pull like a $20 card out of the pack. They're like, thanks.
Yeah, that's another good example. If you trade for packs, don't watch what the person opens.
Assume they're gonna get nothing and just walk away.
Yeah, because I've seen that happen where someone trades, say, actually I've had a lot of arguments started over that too, where someone
Really?
someone trades, say, a $20 card. Mm-hmm. They trade it away and say, okay, just buy me 3 packs of cards, $15-$20, whatever.
Yeah.
That person then opens the pack of cards and gets the $100 card or something like that.
Or the same thing they just traded.
Or the same thing they just traded for, or they get something worth more. And then now there's arguments going back, well, that should be mine because, I paid for it. No.
Theirs, yeah.
Packs, hands have changed.
That's a gamble.
It's done.
They won the gamble. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so if you trade cards for packs, don't just assume the packs are nothing.
Yeah.
Or walk away. Don't even tell the person, please don't open these here. Open them when you get home or something like that.
I love seeing them open and succeeding. Like that makes me happy too.
Yeah. It depends on your mentality.
And if you have that goodwill with them, if they pull a card you want, like they're going to be more inclined to treat it to you than someone else again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just treat them fairly and you'll get treated fairly. And we mentioned sportsmanship really briefly, but like, don't just scoop up because you think you're going to lose. Like, play the game out, have fun. Don't drop out of a tournament early because you're not doing well. It screws up brackets for other people too. Like, it's a game. Have fun with it. Like, even if you're not doing well, you can still find joy out of it.
That is one thing that I notice, not in physical games, not in store, but I notice like online stuff.
Totally. I've been playing
that as soon as someone like opens their hand and they found out they brick, they just instantly quit. I go, no.
You don't know what you're going to draw. You don't know what's in their hand.
You'd be surprised how many times I've played a game, whether it's Weiss Schwarz, this or whatever, or Pokemon, whatever, and I've gotten a really bad hand, and I've completely turned it around.
Yeah,
that says more skill about you as a player than you just, I can't do this. Well, then go back and play League of Legends.
Yeah. I've experienced that online a lot too. I've been playing an online card game called Eternal lately, which is very similar to Magic, and probably 25% of the time we'll get our opening hands and I'll go, oh, this is awful. I don't know if I'm going to make this work. And then the other guy quits and I win the game. Yeah. Off a hand that I would likely lose on. And it happens so frequently online. It's crazy.
Yeah. I know there are times that you should give up, but with the card games like this and stuff, just play a few rounds.
Yeah, there's an element of luck involved and it can go your way.
Because it can change around, and then if, maybe halfway, like if it's been, I like the good rule of like the I like the rule of like how League of Legends does stuff. You have a 20-minute game. You supposedly not allowed to leave the game until 20 minutes is up. Once 20 minutes is up, then you can call a surrender.
You've put an effort in. You've seen how it's going to play out at that point. Yeah.
Because like one of the reasons why I don't play League of Legends anymore, I got burnt out of it. But too many people, I'd be playing the game and like we have one death on our team. And suddenly people are going, oh, it's done. Surrender at 20. We're all done. No. I've played so many games where like we've been down by like 10 deaths.
Those are the best games to watch when you have that big turnaround. Like
yeah. So that mentality of things aren't going your way and now you're just going to sit and cry in the corner.
Yeah, and that's universal for any card game. Like there's luck involved in what you're going to draw, how the decks were shuffled, like what your opponent has in his hand. Like you can even bluff them sometimes too. Mm-hmm. Like use everything to your advantage that's there and do what you can.
Well, it's also not just on the deck too. It's also yourself. Mm-hmm. Every person will make a mistake. I admit I make mistakes all the time when I play games.
Yeah, 100%.
Like
yeah, you can get cocky too when you're in that position where like, you didn't draw any land or energy. Like, I've got this. And then you do dumb things because you're feeling so confident.
You played this card and you went, I should have played this one before I did that.
Yeah, I didn't look at his bench because I was so confident with what I had out there in my active Pokemon that, Yeah, it goes both ways. Play it out. Have fun with it.
Yeah, play it out. Have
games.
Fun.
Enjoy them.
Have a good sportsmanship.
Yeah.
All right. I think we pretty much covered everything.
That's all the stuff I wanted to get out.
I guess the only thing to mention then too is if you're interested in coming to GameQuest and playing some of these games.
Yeah, we have weekly events for everything we've mentioned today, other than Overpower, which I should totally start with.
Overpowered.
Yeah, Weiss Schwarz events, Pokemon events, Magic events.
Trying to think the times off my head here. For Pokemon.
Is that Thursday and Saturday?
Thursday night, right now, we're still trying to do at 6 o'clock standard format. Our big one for Pokemon is expanded format on Saturdays at 1 o'clock.
It's good turnout usually.
Which is good turnout. We always have at least like anywhere from 15 to 20 people. So that's a good one. For Weiss Schwarz, if you're interested in it, we do Fridays at 6:30. If you're new to the game, feel free to come a little bit early. I'm usually there early, and I'd be happy to run you through the game because it looks like a complicated game, and Kelsy can even give evidence to this. But
one playthrough, and it sticks well.
Yeah. I say essentially if someone plays through the game at least 2 times, they'll have the rules down.
Because it is a unique game in how you manipulate your deck, but it does make a lot of sense really quick.
And then let's see what else. Magic events. There's tons throughout the week.
Friday, Thursday, most Sundays, and we just schedule a lot of one-off things too. Like they'll do a draft middle of the week sometimes, or a commander event on a Monday. You just gotta check the Facebook page and check in at the store because they're popping up all the time.
And always ask the staff too. Staff can give you a bunch of details of what's going on. So,
100%.
Alrighty. Well, I think with that, then I think it's time to. Time to scoop and get out of here.
All right, let's do it, and hopefully we'll have a nice healthy Paul with us next time.
Right. But if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments section down below. And actually, frankly, we'd love to hear from you guys what card games you're into. How do you guys protect your cards?
Yeah. Did we miss any important ones too that you grew up with and we just didn't mention?
Duel Masters.
I said important. Kaijudo doesn't count either.
Yeah. Battle Beat-em-on. No, that wasn't a card game. Oh, okay. Beyblade. It's still not a card game.
Does X-Wing count as a card game? There's cards in it.
Yeah. You got to protect those. I'm actually going to play some of that today.
The tiny sleeves.
But yeah, if you, don't forget to subscribe too. But yeah, let us know what games you play, how you protect yourself. What do you prefer? Do you prefer a deck box? Do you prefer binders?
And throw some pictures up of your favorite playmats, card art, sleeves, whatever.
Yeah, we'd love to hear that information from you too. All right. Otherwise, have yourself a nice frosty week, and we will see you later.
See ya.